everyone, and welcome to another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle, the wrestling video podcast here on YouTube right now. Again, like I said, we're gonna kind of be going through. I am going through other transitions to try to do a few other things, but we're not gonna talk too much into that. I'm just gonna work on that and hope that that gets done soon. Also, these are being filmed kind of back to back to back. I have not gotten to Raw, SmackDown, and NXT yet in the terms of recording them. I've obviously watched them at this point in time. So you're going to kind of see back-to-back-to-back videos on this one, with Raw being this episode. We're going to be focusing on Raw for July 10th, 2017, and then we'll have SmackDown, then we'll have NXT right afterwards as well. So let's get right into Monday Night Raw. They started off the show... basically, of course, the fallout from the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view. Still ridiculous name, and it seems like they're going to do it again next year. You know what? Keep it up. Keep it up there. The ridiculousness was completely fine with me, at least on that side. They started off the show with Big Cass coming out and cutting a promo on basically what he's going to be doing with, after this whole thing with Enzo. He's kind of saying Enzo's in the past now, everything in that sense, and where he's going to go. He's going to aim for the Universal title. First of all, they need to aim for him having better entrance music. What they have right now is very generic and not good for him. Hopefully that's only going to be around for like maybe a month until they actually have something real for him. As he's kind of promo, I thought this was a pretty good promo. It showed good intensity, everything in that sense from him. I thought it came off pretty good, on that sense of everything. He gets interrupted by the Big Show, and they basically just start brawling, to the point that, Big Show kind of gets the advantage, and Cass has to eventually run away. As he said he was the biggest guy, and Big Show immediately comes out. So, a little bit weird that they have Cass kind of run off right away, but I guess it is technically the Big Show, and he'll probably come out on top in that feud to begin with. So I guess it will probably work out for him in the end anyway. We'll see how that one goes. I mean, it is Big Show being his first feud after Enzo, so... okay. And of course, where are they going to go with Enzo? Enzo doesn't show up on the show tonight because, he's selling the beatdown from the night before to go along with everything. So we'll see where they go with Enzo as well. Hopefully, especially after that promo and everything, they don't really slack off on Enzo or anything in that sense, and they kind of just they have something else for him. Hopefully. I don't know. We'll see where they go with it. Up next, actually, you had Elias Sampson in the ring, and he starts singing, of course, about the town again and about Finn Balor, which he was about to have a match with. Eventually, Finn Balor does interrupt, and they go into the match. Decent enough match. I thought it was a pretty good... they both got to look pretty good in this one. It was interesting that they decided not to put this on the pay-per-view, and it was kind of just on Raw afterwards. In that sense of everything, but, they gave it time, and both guys got to look good in here. Finn obviously goes over the coup de grace in the end, and like I said, it was a decent enough match. I thought it came off pretty good. Though it was weird, as Finn was going to leave, the Hardys come out. Obviously, I guess they're playing off of this budding friendship that they've been having over the last few weeks to go along with it, and then... the Hardys start going down the ring. They switch the music and they start playing the Hardys. Finn leaves. The Hardys go down the ring. And when they come back, they basically tease the fans that they've got their broken gimmicks, because you had Jeff go do his fade away and classify themselves as obsolete, and the crowd starts going with obsolete and everything in that sense. And they start talking about certain things that pertain to the broken universe and everything in that sense. So it makes you give an indication that maybe they have it, and they're beginning to re-break either both of them or at least Matt in that sense. Eventually, Gallows and Anderson interrupt, and they start cutting a promo. They do their typical spiel. I like how when they get challenged, when the Hardys get challenged to a fight, Matt decides to say, "We are a little bit, we're a little bit beaten up, bruised, broken." again, another nod to the fact that they may have the gimmick and they just haven't really. They're trying to find a way to reintroduce that into the WWE side of everything. We'll see where that goes. As for the match with the Hardys and Gallows and Anderson, I thought this was a decent enough match, and it did exactly what it needed to do. I mean, it showed how beaten up the Hardys were from the night before on the Iron Man match. It made sense for Gallows and Anderson to go over. I mean, the Hardys just got off of the, again, an Iron Man match. So they have Gallows and Anderson go over. They beat him with a magic killer. And then... And it was kind of interesting that a lot of people were, obviously because Matt had busted himself open from the night before, but they focused on Matt's head whenever Matt was in the ring. And then the Revival come down as Gallows and Anderson are going to leave. And I guess this is going to be the next feud for... obviously, this isn't going to be a feud for Gallows and Anderson. This is going to be the next feud for the Revival, who came down and beat down the Hardys after the match. It seems like is where they're going to be going. So we'll see how that one... how that ends out going out. And is it going to be the Revival that... If it's true that they have the broken gimmick, is it going to be the Revival that breaks them? Or is it going to be another team? Or how's it going to be done? Or something in that sense. We'll see where they go with everything. But like I said, with all the teasings that they had in there, I'm saying that it was teasing that they had the broken gimmick. They might not. I mean, Anthem may still be holding them up and everything in that sense to go along with. We don't know. But there was definitely a lot more teasing towards it tonight than they had been doing in the previous weeks. So maybe it's an indication. I don't know. We'll see where they go with everything, though. Up next, you had the Mizzies. So apparently the Oscars and everything else isn't good enough. So Miz decided to make the Mizzies, which he basically he used this to kind of boast and gloat over everything. I love the reactions that like Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel had gave when they got their award for like supporting role. And then you had Maurice's bit where it's like Miz threw away the envelope. It's like, I don't need that. And it was like, wait a minute, huh? Who's it gonna be? And then it was Maurice, obviously, in that sense. And of course, Miz played up him being the main person and everything to go along with that. He starts talking down about Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and the Hardys, and everybody in that sense, like people who had lost from the night before. And then lo and behold, Dean Ambrose's music hits, and you're thinking, it's like, okay, they're going to still go with this. And I was like kind of saddened in that sense, but eventually, like as Dean Ambrose got beaten down, Seth Rollins comes out and makes the save, and we do see something a little bit later on that says, yeah, Dean and Miz in the terms of matches is probably over with, and they're going elsewhere. I'll talk about that a little bit later. You did have a backstage segment with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. Basically, I love they decided to go with continuity here. On this one, it's like Ambrose was angry at Rollins for doing that, but Rollins like gave it indications like I wasn't doing it to come out and have a Shield reunion. I was doing it because he made fun of me, or was trying to talk down to me, and I was like, I wanted to get a little bit of revenge on that. And of course, Dean's like, no, there won't be any Shield reunion as well. I don't trust you, anything in that sense. That boat sailed a long time ago. So I like the continuity there. I thought that was a good backstage segment. Up next was a tag team match with Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss. We saw this last week, but with Bayley basically being taken out of the picture and everything. I did not do a review last week. I was there live, and I decided I had lost my voice for a couple days, so I didn't really do reviews. And I decided, like, yeah, you know what? I was kind of there, and just in the terms of having fun and everything. I thought last week's show was pretty good. As an overall show, and I thought this week's show was actually pretty good too. Raw's been consistently getting a little bit better, and hopefully they stay on track here. But this match kind of, played off something weird, and maybe they're going somewhere else than what people were thinking for a SummerSlam match or something in that sense. They have Sasha and Bayley go over in this match, and which was a decent enough match, and actually a match that they gave time, and it just it went. It was a good enough match. They gave pretty much all the matches time tonight as well, and it made it flow. It made it work, and they did have it where Bayley was kind of getting beaten down towards the end of the match. And for a good portion of it, like, they did work over her. They did do a bit with where they worked over Sasha as well with Nia and Alexa. But the ending came where Alexa hit the Twisted Bliss. Sasha Banks made the save, and then it kind of boiled down to a quick little brawl where you had Nia Jax get taken out, Sasha Banks getting taken out, but Alexa was distracted and she gets rolled up by Bayley. That's the weird thing there, because you were kind of thinking, it's like, wait a minute, weren't they going to be taking Bayley out of the title picture, or were they going to be taking her like out of a main role for the time being? And then they give her a victory like this. It's one of those little weird bits in that sense, and it makes it feel like that they're trying for another multi-woman match at SummerSlam or something in that sense. Could be completely wrong on that one, maybe looking too much into it, and they just decide, like, yeah, you know what, Bayley gets the pin tonight, and they're probably working towards another Sasha Alexa Bliss match, or a Nia Alexa Bliss match or something in that sense, or they could be working towards a fatal 4-way or a triple threat. Who knows? We'll see where they go with it. They've got a lot of time before SummerSlam to really figure that out. So this leads into all the Goldust and R-Truth stuff. Everything that they did tonight was really good. You had Goldust cutting another one of his promos, and he basically said, we're going to have the Shattered Truth Part 2 and everything in that sense. He's making his movie quotes, and he's cutting really good promos. I suggest actually going to watch them and everything in that sense. I can't really do them complete justice with what he's doing. He's been doing good work, though, in the terms of his promos, which did lead straight into their match with R-Truth and Goldust. And I thought this match was a good match. Crowd was dead as a doornail through this whole thing. Maybe because it was they went 1 week too long, it didn't happen on the pay-per-view or even in the pre-show or something in that sense. But it felt like maybe it went a little bit too long in the sense of how long the program was going. I've been thinking the stuff that they've been doing has been really good. I've been into it. I thought this match was really good as well between both of them. They told a good story throughout the entire thing, and you have Goldust going over in this one. So does that signify the end of their feud, or does it mean they're going to go a little bit further with it? I don't know. You could just kind of tell the crowd, at least to me, the crowd didn't feel like they were into this match at all. And it was a little bit interesting to see where they were going with everything here. So this brings us to the segment with Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, and eventually Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe. So they start out with Kurt Angle coming out. He brings out Brock Lesnar. He wants to congratulate him and everything in that sense on the match from the night before. And then, it's like, hey, you want to know who your next opponent's going to be? Which eventually, it was kind of interesting how Paul Heyman brought it up. Because he was like, oh, I didn't know we were going to have a creative meeting out here in the ring. He actually brings up backstage lingo like creative meeting or something in that sense, or a brainstorm, as he eventually calls it later. So as they go to leave, because it's like they're playing off, it's like, we don't care who the opponent is, just whomever, and we'll go beat them up. Before they go to leave, though, Roman Reigns comes out. He cuts a great promo, I think, on Lesnar. And he even says something about Angle. When Angle says, it's like, you got a lot of nerve to be out here right now. It's like, wait a minute. Weren't, like, you guys part of the Attitude Era, with the exception of Brock Lesnar, because technically the Attitude Era was over before Lesnar was around. And you guys blew up buses, everything in that sense, so you're going to get on me? And it's like, I like Kurt's response. Like, that was then, this is now. And type moment, and it's like, we're different now. We don't do things like that. But apparently Roman Reigns does, and they're not trying to even play him off as he. I think they're just playing him off as like he's just Roman. He's neither heel nor face. He's whatever you guys say he is at this point in time. After Great Balls of Fire, and you probably saw that in the review as well. If you watched the review, or for anybody who watched the review, that I consider him the heel now. Basically, they did a double turn. Roman attempted murder, which, by the way, he gets rewarded for that too. In this one, it's like attempted murder. Braun Strowman gets out of the ambulance, walks out, no help. Yeah. In my mind, it's like Roman heel, Braun face. Kind of, it feels a little clear cut on that one. So Samoa Joe comes out after all this, and he starts cutting promos on like everybody in that sense of everything. On Lesnar, on not necessarily on Angle, but on Roman as well. Good stuff, and you just see like this big grin on Brock's face, making it feel like maybe they're not done with like Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar or anything in that sense, because lo and behold, they decided to make a. Sorry, had to take a drink there. That they make a number one contendership match, and like this said, this is where Roman gets rewarded for his actions from the week before, with Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe next week to determine number one contender. Now there is that rumor that it could be Roman versus Brock, maybe it could be Joe versus Brock again, or there's also the potential of yet another fatal four-way, like a fatal four-way match being done with Lesnar, Joe, Roman, and Braun Strowman. I mean, we'll see where everything goes there. I've been enjoying the stuff that they've had with Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman. I really am enjoying the stuff with Joe and Lesnar as well. And I'm hoping that the match from Great Balls of Fire isn't just a one-off between Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar in some way, shape, or form. So if it ends up being a fatal four-way, fine. You're getting some more of that work in there to go along with everything. I thought it came off pretty good. As they were trying to, like, as everybody was leaving the ring, they did that camera spot with the announcers, and basically you had Corey again on his phone. As they go to him, he's like, I've got to go, and they cut the commercial break. Eventually when they come back, Angle's looking at his phone, and Corey Graves is backstage and everything in that sense. Angle basically says next week he's going to go out public, but this can kind of be he's playing it off as like, I could lose my family, my job, all this stuff, and everything to go along with it. And Corey's kind of like, you know what, you should just do it. The fans are going to probably respect you anyway. They're going to support you, everything in that sense. So they're playing off something, and we're going to get a payoff to this angle. I don't know how good it's going to end up being in that sense, but we're going to get a payoff, and we'll see what it ends up being. And there are people that are saying it's like, well, they're in Nashville, and Dixie Carter showed up in the 24 documentary with Kurt Angle. Could she be whatever it is? Not many WWE fans would probably know who Dixie Carter even is, or anything in that sense. Like, only the most hardcore would probably get it. And like I said, it's in Nashville, so it would probably get a decent pop as well. So, because I feel like Nashville would probably know a little bit more with Dixie Carter than anything in that sense. That's where, you know, Impact Wrestling, TNA Wrestling's offices were for the longest time to go along with everything. So we're going to go public with it next week, everything in that sense. We'll see what they end up doing, if it's going to be some kind of love affair thing, or is it going to be an illegitimate child. Whatever it ends up being, we're going to see what it is, and let's just hope it's not incredibly dumb. We'll just go with that, because it's been an interesting storyline, and it would suck that the payoff ends up being like something really, really dumb, or something in that sense. So we'll see where they go with it. So up next was again another tag team match, but they gave this one time, and it was rather good. A rather good match with Akira Tozawa and Cedric Alexander going up against Noam Dar and Neville. They do they do promote the 205 Live match. That was an I Quit match with Noam Dar and Cedric Alexander for the next night. This match I thought was really good. I also like the aspect that at the end of the match they played off from the night before, where Akira Tozawa had been crotched on the top rope, and then the top rope gets kicked. That they play the role reversal, and this time Akira Tozawa does it to Neville and hits the senton to get the victory in that sense of everything. So nice playoff from the night before. Again, they gave the match time, like they did with most of the matches tonight. They gave it time, and it worked, and it came off pretty good in my mind in that sense of it. So yeah, a good enough match here with Cedric Alexander and Akira Tozawa going over, and still probably building up to the fact that we're going to have another Akira Tozawa Neville match somewhere down the line. So this brings us to the main event match of the night. I say main event match because it wasn't the last thing that you saw before they went off the air. It ended up being Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins. Again, another good match between the two of them. Again, I'm not caring much for that storyline, so I didn't really get into the match, but you could tell the match was good. Like, what they were doing inside the ring was good, everything in that sense. And they have Bray go over again, and I like how they did play off the night before with the whole poke to the eye and then the Sister Abigail, but this time Bray Wyatt hits him with a headbutt to that same eye area, and I think even Seth got like some makeup done to like do a black eye or something in that sense to go along with it to try to play off the injury, and then hits the Sister Abigail. Bray Wyatt hits Sister Abigail, wins the match again. Again, like I said, I thought it was another rather good match. Afterwards, you have Bray kneeling in the ring. Lights go out, he disappears, and then lo and behold, the Miz Taraj, or Miz Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel all come down out of the crowd. And this is where I'm saying it's like, okay, I guess they're truly done with Ambrose and Miz because they went after Seth Rollins for coming out and making the save earlier in the night. This does actually, as they are beating down Seth Rollins after he had the match, everything in that sense, this does prompt Dean Ambrose to make the save. So I think you're going to get a little something here with both of them. I don't know where they're going to fully go with it, but or they even do a full Shield reunion where you have all three of them team up against Miz, Bo Dallas, and Curtis Axel, which would be pretty interesting in that sense of everything to go along with it. We'll see how everything ends up playing off there and where they go with everything in that sense. But it seems like they're going away from Miz and Dean Ambrose, which I felt like they should after the Great Balls of Fire match. And it looks like it's going to be Rollins and Miz for the time being. We'll see where they go with everything. So they finished off the show with Kurt Angle on the phone, basically talking to someone, and it's like, "Hey, why don't you show up next week? We'll just get this out of the air. You know, we'll clear the air, everything in that sense." And he says, "I love you" to whomever the person is there. So it leads indications to being like, is it again an illegitimate child, an affair, or something to go along with that? It almost plays it off of it being potentially an illegitimate child somewhere in that sense because of the tone that he was using, everything in that sense. But like I said, we'll see where they go with it. And that's how they ended off the show for the night. They had Kurt basically doing that and setting up for next week that he's going to come clean about everything. And they're going to start whatever angle this, I guess, pun intended there, for Kurt and whomever he's about to probably wrestle or something in that sense to go along with everything. So overall, I thought Raw was pretty good this week. Again, they've been delivering some decent shows recently. Matches again had some time. They basically filled in with the matches that didn't happen on the pay-per-view that probably should have, but they didn't really have time for everything. With the Finn Balor, Elias Sampson, Goldust, and R-Truth matches, everything in that sense. And yeah, we'll see where they go with everything after this. So yeah, that's pretty much everything for Monday Night Raw this week. So I thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and yeah, laters.